Welcome to the Immigrant Entrepreneurs Podcast, episode 52. My name is Alina Warwick, and today we have Prateek Joshi on the show. Before we continue with this episode, I want to ask if you can please share some love by subscribing to this podcast and leaving a rating. If you leave a rating, your name may be dropped in one of my future episodes. So stay tuned and connected.
It's like supply. So basically drinking water, right? It's not like a tap that you turn on and you just get water, right?
Okay.
That's not how it happened. And usually like once every couple of days when you get water, you take it, you store it, and then for the next time you get water, you do the same, right? So that's how we used to get drinking water.
Prateek grew up in India where there was no such thing called tap water. They had to drive to a place to get their drinking water supply for a couple of days, and once they were running low, you would do it again. The supply of water sparked Prateek's interest early on, and that's how he got into artificial intelligence in the following industries: food and beverage, chemical industry, manufacturing industry, power, and renewables. He runs a personal blog where he's received over 2 million views so far. He's an author of 13 books, and he's also produced several video courses on machine learning, Python, and AI. Prateek started Pluto Shift at only 27 years old. And so far, he's raised a total of $11 million, and they're definitely thriving. He's also been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 and took the stage on TedX. So let's dive right in and hear all about this young immigrant entrepreneur's journey. All right, Prateek, thank you so much for coming on the Immigrant Entrepreneurs Podcast. I truly appreciate your time, and I'm really excited to hear all about your journey. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lena. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, let's talk about your immigrant journey. Tell us where you're from and when did you come to the United States?
Of course, I am from a town called Gulbarga in southern India. And I came to the US about, call it 11 years ago to do my master's. And then I came to the Bay Area to start my professional life. So that's a little bit about my journey.
Okay, and how old were you when you came to United States?
I was just right before I turned 21.
Okay, and did you come by yourself to study in school?
Yeah, yeah, just flew in by myself.
Okay, and so what was that journey like? Did you always know that you were going to come to United States to study?
Yeah, no, it's when during my undergrad, I got really interested in machine learning and AI in general. So that's when kind of I figured out that coming to the US would be a great path for me just to kind of pursue that field and also kind of explore further. So that's when I decided to come to the US and pursue a career in AI.
Okay, and what did you study in your undergrad and in your master's?
Yeah, so both undergrad and masters were pretty much focused on the field of machine learning, and again, the major was electrical and electronics engineering, and but pretty much the focus was pretty heavily on machine learning and how we can leverage data in general. So that was my focus.
Okay, awesome. Great. And so when you were looking to get to your master's degrees, did you only look at United States or were there any other countries that were of interest to you?
At that stage, I only looked at United States, and pretty much I think it was mainly driven by my. No, I always wanted to be here, like in Bay Area, it's in Silicon Valley, and just kind of that was my kind of main motivation, and yeah, so that's why I just looked at the United States at that time.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And what school did you attend for your master's degree?
USC, University of Southern California.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's talk about India. What was it like growing up in India?
Of course, India is very close to my heart, and growing up in India, it's a very unique flavor, right? So I growing up in the '90s, I have a bunch of cultural references that I enjoy with my friends, but in general, it was very interesting to see the dynamics of how, especially to me, internet and me kind of we grew up together almost more or less like in the early '90s and late '90s. So it was a very interesting time to be in India because India was just we were just opening up our markets and we were kind of making sure that we are getting a lot of interest from other countries, multinational companies. So India's economy was really kind of opening up, and there was a very interesting time. And when I was growing up in this town, we used to get water once every couple of days, right? Again, it was pretty common across many towns, I'm sure, in India. But that particular issue kind of it kind of I latched onto that. It was very interesting to me, and again, I thought that's how the world works, right? Everybody
Wait,
everywhere. Yeah.
wait, Prateek, tell
Yeah.
me again. You guys got water every couple of days from where?
It's like supply. So basically drinking water, right? It's not like a tap that you turn on and you just get water, right?
Okay.
That's not how it happened. And usually, like once every couple of days, when you get water, you take it, you store it, and then for the next time you get water, you do the same, right? So that's how we used to get drinking water,
And
right?
then would you have to drive to another town to get water?
Oh no, it's not that far, but we usually kind of it's pretty close, but in the neighborhood, if you will. It's not too far, right? It's in the neighborhood, but it was just basically there's no concept of like, oh, you go to the kitchen, you have a tap, and there's water. That's not how it happened. And again, it was very interesting because as I grew up, the topic of water became very interesting to me, and that was actually the core motivation behind launching Pluto Shift as well, is to take the topic of AI. That's my profession, and how do we apply this to the field of water? Because it's not just a problem in my town. It's pretty turns out it's pretty universal, right? Again, the topic of water manifests itself in many different ways, but it is everywhere in the world. Access to clean water, access to kind of regular access to clean water is still a topic of debate, and it's only going to get more interesting and more difficult for many people across the world to access clean water. So that was really the one of the topics again of the many topics I could have latched onto. This one, this is very kind of close to my heart. So that became interesting, and then when I grew up and went into my undergrad, the whole topic of data and machine learning kind of really resonated with me a lot. And I think it also ties to my kind of love for mathematics, right? So growing up, of all the topics, physics, chemistry, mathematics, I like mathematics a lot more than others, right? So that it lends itself very nicely to this topic. So it was a natural transition into this field.
Okay, got it. And so in the town that you grew up, was it prominent for your neighbors to seek higher education? Was that something that was pretty normal?
Not really. It's and again, it's in that town. It wasn't like it's not normal. That's for sure. Meaning a lot of people, it's difficult both financially and just the situation, right? Many people are not either. They even if they want to, it's very difficult to go out and do something because there is no access, there is no infrastructure to kind of go out and do something, right? So and that's why obviously there are many people who did that, but it's any good old town, right? It has a nice economy, but going from there to the US, it's not like we had a coaching centers, or we had colleges who wrote our statement of purpose to grow good. So that infra didn't exist. So basically, if you're good, you'll figure out a way to do it yourself. That's how I grew up.
Okay. And so then how did you do it? How did you leave the little town in India and come to Silicon Valley or come to California to study? So how did that happen?
Yeah, no, it's and again, I think there are many talented people in our town, and obviously many people have pursued nice career. But again, that's like you gotta really focus, right? Focus and discipline pretty much drives it. I guess that's what happened in my case as well, is to just making sure that okay, step one is finish middle school and high school, and then undergrad, and just get into a good school to pursue a career of your choice. So basically, it's just I would say it just boils down to focus and discipline, and that kind of helps build a build a foundation for your career. But yeah, it wasn't like it's not like I was 10 years old and I thought I'd go to US. When I was 10, right? The next step
Yeah.
was which high school do I go to, right? That was a big question. So
Right, right.
so you go to the high school and then you figure out which college to go to, and then comes the question of what do I do from here. So it wasn't like a magical plan from start to end. It's basically you kind of you build it along the way based on where you are at that point. And again, obviously, it's great to have a path, a vision, but the exact tactical details, you gotta adjust and react accordingly.
So, did you have a scholarship when you attended the university here?
No,
Oh, you paid all out of loans?
yeah, it's loan, and then you get a job, you earn, and then you repay the loan.
Wow, okay,
That's how it
amazing.
happened.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the struggles that you had to go through when you first immigrated. And I want to know, did you know English before you came?
Yeah, luckily that's what I think I'm very thankful for the Indian education system is that English is pretty much it's everywhere. It's kind of it's part of the schooling system if you go to the right system. But yeah, English
Okay.
is pretty common, which kind of really helps, right? Because when you come here, if you already know English, it helps with the communication and it helps make the transition easier. And also, California luckily has is very multicultural, so you get you well, many. Obviously, I'm from India, so I have a lot of Indian friends here. But I think that's true of many of my friends who come from different parts of the world, and at least in Bay Area, no matter where you're from, you'll find your group, right? Just to
Mhm.
kind of hang out. But also people are very nice, and in the sense that the level of openness here is very nice, honestly. So that's why I think moving from India to California was actually a pretty nice transition, surprisingly nice.
That's good. That's good to hear. And did you live on campus?
No, I lived right off of yeah, just a few blocks away, but close to college. Yeah,
Okay. And so did you get on a plane all by yourself to come to study at the university?
that is correct. Yeah.
Okay, so at 21 years old, you came to a completely brand new country. Have you ever been here before?
No, well, that was my first time.
Okay, so how did you find roommates? How did you get everything situated in the beginning?
Oh, it's a lot of it's if you look, you'll find everything, right? So it was more like that. And again, there were all these forums and just making sure that hey, people who are coming here in the fall, there's like a little group that forms, and if you look around, you'll find that many people are indeed also looking for roommates, right? So that's how I found my roommates, and it was yeah, it's basically I just think it all boils down to doing the work. And the good thing is there are many if you look, there are nice places, right? There's a forum, there are people who can help you, and that's how I found the roommates.
Got it. Okay. So I'm hearing easy transition. You got yourself situated. You're good to go. So that's good. It's a very good
Yeah.
journey. All
Yeah.
right. So, Prateek, before you tell our listeners about your company, tell me a little bit more about the path you took. And I really want to know if you try to go into any other fields before
Hmm.
starting your business, Pluto Shift.
Yeah. I would say machine learning is pretty much all I've ever done in my career, and honestly, more than anything, I just like it. I know I love it because it just makes a lot of sense. First, I understand it. Two, I over a period of time, I think I've gotten good at it, and it kind of if you get good at something, you like it even more, right? So it's a good feedback loop. It's a field that interests me a lot, And also I feel like it's a tool that can be used to drive kind of to kind of make something good happen, good for the world. And also, it's just a very powerful tool. So throughout my career, machine learning, and that's pretty much all I've done. And even when we launched Pluto Shift, that was the core motivation behind launching it, is to bring that to the physical world. So I so looking back, right? If had I you know, have I considered any other field, I never thought about it. Again, I've thought about different types of data on which you can apply machine learning, but at the core of it, AI is pretty much all I've done. And honestly, it's been a good partnership. Like me and AI, we get together well. So it's a fun journey, and it's been good so far.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Pratik, you finished college, you got your master's degree. Did you open up Pluto Shift right away, or did you get a job?
No, I got a job. I worked at Nvidia, the big graphics chipset, the hardware company.
Yeah.
So I worked at Nvidia for a while, and then so that was during that period. I worked with teams, just got to know really how production level systems are deployed. Because until that point, I hadn't really worked in a corporate environment. Right? It's always been school, like high school to college to the master. So it's never done that. So that was a great experience working across like a real corporate environment where you deploy your code and then it's used in the real world, right? So that was very good transition. So I did that for a few years and then launched Pluto Shift.
Okay. And did you always know that you're going to open up a company, or what was that spark that lit up inside of you that you wanted to leave the corporate world and start your own business?
Yeah, I keep thinking about that for as long as I can remember. This has been on my mind, right? It's doing something like this has always been on my mind. And one of the key motivations behind this was, AI it has done a lot of good in the ether, like search engines and e-commerce, very, very impactful tool. But when it comes to the physical world, there was a big gap, right? So as I started talking to more people who handle physical infrastructure, meaning they handle like large facilities, they handle large machines, basically the physical products and services. When I started talking to them, I realized that there's a massive opportunity here, right, to bring AI to the physical. Because I really get excited by tangible things like real world where you can touch and feel the product, and the impact it's making. So that's when it clicked. Is that why don't we bring this very useful tool, right, to the physical world? And that was pretty much the core. That was when it clicked. Is that okay? This is what I want to do. So let's go do this. And that's when we launched Pluto Shift.
Got it. Okay. And so did you work on Pluto Shift on the side while you were working at Nvidia, or did you quit and start working on launching Pluto Shift?
Yeah, no, I worked at another company. Like after Nvidia, I was at another company, and then after that, usually like nights and weekends, right? Just to kind of see if that, hey, is this even doable, right? Is physical data, is that even valid, and how can we bring this to the real world? So nights and weekends is when I experimented with it, and then once it was real, then started pitching to investors, and then raise the round, and then that's where we are today.
Did you raise your capital first and then you quit, or did you quit your corporate career and then you started working on it kind of more deeper?
Yeah, so quit and then worked. So basically, quit the job, then obviously incorporated the company, raised funding, and then got going.
Was that scary for you because you had a steady salary and then now you were starting something completely brand new with risk involved? Was that scary for you, or you kind of just went for it and said, "Hey, I'll see what happens"?
To me, not doing it was scarier, right?
Wow.
Let me put it that way. So it was more like, yeah, I was at a point where it was exciting to pursue this. And when you look at a career path, right? I'm a big fan of the concept called Ikigai. It's basically like it's a Japanese concept, just a guiding principle for career or life in general, right? Imagine four like a Venn diagram with four circles, overlapping circles, and basically when you look at what you want to do with your life, right, or your career, if you before you embark on anything, it's like something you love, something you're good at, something that's good for the world, and something that'll get you paid, right? So basically, if you find an activity that sits at the intersection of these four circles, then kind of where you found your inner harmony, it'll just allow you to keep going, right? And that's why I think it's been a nice guiding principle before I embark upon anything. Is I ask myself like, hey, does this sit, does this activity or does this path sit at the intersection of these four circles? Because if it does, then it can just keep going forever, right? You can outlast all of them, and that will kind of position you to kind of win. And that's what I found with Pluto Shift is just that call it, and I found my inner harmony with that, and that kind of helps me or enables me to keep going.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. I love those four concepts. What is it called again? What is it, that terminology called?
It's Ikigai, Ikigai.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I
Of
really like
course.
how you said, it's scarier not to pursue your passions and not to pursue your dreams and then just
Yeah.
being stuck in a corporate world or government job or wherever, we're programmed to do. So that's really good to hear. So tell us more a little bit about your company and what Pluto Shift does.
Sure. Pluto Shift, we automate data workflows for operations teams, and it's built for companies that provide physical products and services like food and beverage, chemicals, manufacturing, renewables, energy, right? So basically, if you look at the operational tasks that they have to do on a day-to-day basis, like monitoring performance, internal reporting, detecting anomalies. So to do all these tasks, they have to centralize the data and then extract the information. So what it means is that you have to that sensor data, financials, and ERP maintenance, like multiple systems. And right now, they have to do this manually, meaning they have to log into each system, download the CSV, and then verify the data quality, validate the data, build the Excel workflow, and then extract the information. It's prone to errors. It's manual, and this in the Pluto Shift, we automate this work with machine learning and provide this platform that basically brings data from n different sources, and then we have a set of pre-built workflows that are just ready to go, and then our customers they use it on a day-to-day basis. So that's a little bit about Pluto Shift.
I know on your website you have three different case studies. Can you just share one of them with our listeners?
Yeah, happy to do it. One of our nice case studies is with a beverage company. Basically, when you look at how a beverage company runs, they use a lot of water to make the product, right? So the raw water comes in, and they have to clean it, and then the clean water goes and becomes a product. It could be a soft
Mhm,
drink, it could be anything, right?
mhm,
And to do that right now, they use a lot of membrane, like many membrane systems. Right? Let's assume that you need 2 million gallons of clean water a day. So you buy a lot of raw water and you clean that water with membranes, and then the clean water goes into your system. Now, to monitor those many dozens of membranes that are doing the job of cleaning the water, it's manual, meaning you don't know which membrane is doing what until you log into the system and download the numbers and do some computations. And because of that, membranes end up consuming a lot more energy, right? You don't know when to, or rather kind of they're not getting cleaned on time, they consume more electricity, they are, the maintenance events are going, nobody's looking at it. And because of this, it just the cost per gallon to clean the water. It keeps going up and up. So with Pluto Shift, we automated this work of monitoring the dozens of membranes. And what happens is now they know exactly, hey, membrane number 72 is acting up, right? Let's go take a look. So instead of them manually checking on number one and number two, all by the time they get to 72, it's very expensive. So that's so instead of doing that, we have an automated system to monitor all of the membranes, and then this helps them reduce electricity cost. This helps them reduce the cleaning cost, and also it helps them increase the recovery rate. Meaning, if you buy 1 gallon of raw water, how much of that is going to get converted to clean water? Because recovery rate is, water is a very precious resource. So these are some of the ways in which we impact or help our customers.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that's amazing. That's seems like more of an ecosystem that's being generated to have a cleaner footprint, carbon footprint on this earth, which is amazing. So, what other type of industries do you guys help out? So, any company with a machine, so even what about like an auto factory that's building Ford or Hondas or whatnot? Do you guys help them out as well?
Yeah, anywhere where there is any company that has a physical infrastructure, right? We help them, and obviously we have started with a few verticals where we can have big impacts. But yeah, like food processing, beverage, as I mentioned, data centers. We have started working with them, semiconductor companies. So basically, a lot of these companies have big, expansive footprint, and kind of monitoring all of that is becoming increasingly complex. So yeah, we help a wide range of companies.
Genius, genius product. So, okay. I
Thank
have
you.
a yeah, I have a couple of questions for you now. So, how old were you when you launched Pluto Shift?
Yeah, I was just about call it 27.
Okay, that's very young.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Hmm.
Okay, so I read somewhere that you're an author of 13 books.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
what kind of books are there? Are they strictly on machine learning, AI, helping industries out, or is this something different?
Yeah, no, almost. I think all the books are on AI, but different forms. Meaning, just basically applying the concept to different types of data. There's different algorithms that you need to use, and kind of based on how you frame the problem, you need to think of it in different ways. So basically, these books are more like the guides to understanding how do we apply AI to say images or sensor data or text data, and how do you apply it to maybe kind of create different types of systems. So that's kind of it covers a wide range of topics. Obviously, across 13 books, it covers a wide range of topics on how do you build it, how do you deploy it, how do you maintain it, what types of algorithms are relevant to what types of data, what use cases do you need to think about, how what algorithms are relevant based on what use cases. So basically, just it's a vast world of data, right? And the goal is to understand, just if you take a quick look at the data, how do you make sense of it, and how do you kind of at least form a blueprint of your own AI system? So pretty much all my books talk about this for different types of data.
And so, are there specific software that you guys use to help you out with the AI process or the machine learning, or is this all proprietary?
Yeah, we built all of this in house, and yes, I would say it is proprietary, and obviously we are big fans of Python, so we use that a lot to build our systems. But yeah, everything on top of that, we use machine learning libraries available in Python, and then our we build our IP on top of that.
So, you also run a blog that's received over 2.3 million views.
Mhm.
What do you wish to accomplish through that blog, and what made you start the blog?
Really, the main reason I started is writing the blog is to just improve my own understanding, right? Because I've always found that when you have to write something, it always becomes crystal clear if you understand it or not. So the first time I started writing is just every time I saw an interesting concept, I just thought, hey, I found it interesting. Maybe a few other people will find it interesting too. So I just started blogging about many different topics. I like experimenting across a range of technologies and projects. So I just started blogging. And also, more than that, whenever I look for solutions or answers on Google, I always found some people who write really nice blogs. And so long before I started blogging, I had been fortunate enough to read many people's amazing blog posts, right? And they've been very, very helpful. So it's almost it's two reasons. One is to improve my own understanding, and two is to it's somebody was kind enough to write a blog post that helped me. So hopefully, if I write, somebody else will benefit from that. So it's nice. And third, it just helps build it's a good way to understand, kind of build a a personality, right? Meaning when you write, it's when you write a formal book, right? So when you write a book, there are a whole bunch of you got to follow. There's a certain tone, there is certain language, there's it's more structured. But blog, I felt more liberating because there's no editors who ask you to change it or replace it. And so blog is like whatever the original voice, it just comes out, and I feel it's liberating. So it was again, so multiple items just kind of came together, and more than anything, I just like writing. So that was the main reason I started doing it.
Yeah, and 2.3 million views, that's amazing. So there's definitely a market for whatever you're writing about, and
Thank
people
you.
are definitely finding it interesting and helpful. So that's awesome. I love it. You're an AI guru, so it looks like the world needs your expertise. Okay, so
Yeah.
tell me about your video courses. I saw that you launched a couple of video courses. And is this to teach Python, to teach machine learning? What are you teaching through the video courses?
Yeah, no, the video courses were created, obviously, our publishing house. They usually kind of convert the book content into video courses, just because different people like consuming content in different ways. So books are definitely one of the main ways. And for people people kept asking, hey, what about why don't we wanted to make a video and do that. So video content was created by the publisher, and kind of based on the books that I wrote, and that's basically it just translates the written content into something a little more. It has a voice, it has a certain way of teaching. So that was the idea behind that.
Oh, got it. So you took those 13 books and you created video courses out of those.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the books,
Oh, okay.
obviously, some of the books are more popular than others. So we just decided that, hey, why not create a couple of video courses based on the topics. And our readers, obviously, we hear from them, we get feedback. So, it's always great to get those responses, because it helps us understand what was valuable versus what was not. And then we try to make sure that that content is available in multiple formats.
So I know AI has grown so much in the last several years. How do we protect AI from any cyber attacks? And do we need to worry about that?
Yeah, it's a topic of active research. And again, I think as long as the topic of cyber attack versus AI, right? It completely depends on the specific context or the use case we're thinking about, right? For example, we use AI every day. We Google search is a very good example of billions of people, like they use it, and it works just fine, right? And again, I think when we build brand new systems, the risk versus reward, that's where it gets interesting. And again, people who are building those systems, I think based on how well it's built, it's going to depend. That's going to dictate how vulnerable it is to attack. So I think overall, when it's used in a well controlled, like a nice controlled environment, it can do a lot of good. But when it's unregulated, it can have unintended consequences, right? So like a good example is, how do you moderate speech across the entire world when you have like billions and billions of words being typed every single second? Moderating that can, it can get very, very tricky. And again, not everyone is follows all the security and governance policies, which means they leave themselves open for like an attack. So the goal is to design and build systems that are foolproof, meaning any average person should be able to use it without worrying about following, or rather kind of without worrying about getting hacked or being open to attack. But yeah, again, it's part of it is that's how you go forward, meaning you research, you implement new systems, you build new systems, and then you figure out that, hey, is it vulnerable? If so, how can we fix it? And we go forward. So it's always the risk versus reward it always exists. And when you embark upon a particularly risky project, then obviously it's a little more open to attack.
And how would you foolproof something like what you guys build on a daily basis?
Oh yeah,
What are some things that people can implement?
yeah. So you as in Pluto Shift, is that the
Yeah,
question?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So at Pluto Shift, we are SOC 2 compliant. And again, what that means is it's a set of security and governance policies. It's basically like an audit, right? If you are handling your customers' data, an independent audit company comes in and checks if you're following all the policies, what safeguard procedures do you have in place,
Wow.
how do you protect the data, users. So yeah, it's actually fairly intense. The audit is fairly intense. And
Jeez.
what happens is, and again, I think it's a very, and this is a very good example of how you can protect, right?
Yeah.
Because many companies, when they're building, they're moving so fast that they kind of either there's no time or no resources to look at, hey, is this really secure, right? Are we following all the policies? So I think something like a SOC 2 audit, and again, it's one of the it's the most stringent, I would say, security policies out there. And they once you get audited and once you're certified, it at least means that you're following all the policies to ensure that the customer data is secure. You're not leaving any kind of open doors, or you're not kind of leaving like a trail of kind of mistakes that can bite you in the future. So yeah, there are ways if you really want to make sure that you're secure. There are ways, but it is hard work. It's non-trivial to make sure that you are
Yeah.
completely protected. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I know it is tough out there, and I read news articles about it all the time, and
yeah.
Russian hackers happen every day. Yeah, okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I had no idea that the government is so involved in your industry.
Oh no, no,
Uh,
not the SOC 2 is more like it's a governance policy, meaning they are procedures, but it's almost like an audit, right? It's like
oh, got it. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, a really reputed firm audits you based on the guidelines set, right? So the SOC 2 is a set of guidelines, and they said this is, and this is pretty stringent. But to actually do the audit, it's basically a range of certified private firms, right? They're certified, they get the certification, and now it's almost like it's kind of very similar to a financial audit, right? To do an audit, you
Okay.
need to have your certification, you need to be qualified, and you need to know what to look for. So similarly, if you apply that to a software like a data company, that's what an audit like a SOC 2 audit does. And what it does, it really kind of it'll make sure that you're really buttoned up when it comes to security, right? So yeah, it's more like that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense. Okay.
yeah,
And so you mentioned that you raised capital to start your
yeah,
business. Was it I read something about $8 million?
yeah. That was our Series A. The total funding we have raised is 11 and a half so
11 and a
far.
half.
But yeah,
Okay.
so 8 million is our most recent round, correct?
Okay. And then are you going to be raising some more?
Yeah, yes. As we continue to grow, we will raise more funding in the future. Yes.
And how long did it take your business to start seeing some real traction in the beginning stages?
Yeah, it does take a little bit of time. In our case, what happened is for the first 18 to 21 months of the company, we were focused on the municipal sector, right? Because they're the largest movers of water, and we are bringing AI to the water processes. So, but again, I think in hindsight, it's we just decided that, hey, how can we kind of because a municipal entity is it's highly regulated, and it's not that easy for them to do business with like a young company. So we decided to kind of reorient the product towards the corporate sector, where big companies can move fast, and if you show value, then you can do more business. So that's when it really started clicking. So call it about was 2 years of product iteration, and then after that we started seeing revenue, and then the real commercialization of the product happened at about Q4 of 2019. That's when we really commercialized it, and we really started seeing some strong uptick. And currently, we signed a whole bunch of deals with our customers, and right now we are actively serving multi-year deals with our customers, and these are big companies with expansive footprint, right? So that's very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
guys are growing fast. That's good. So, how did you get yourself out there? I'm sure it wasn't like Facebook ads. I'm sure you guys had to go to, meetings and stuff like that. How did you guys
Yeah.
get yourself out there to be noticed?
Yeah, no, we tried a range of. I mean, initially, right, we were trying to see what's the best way to get in front of our customers, and after experimentation, we realized that the good old way of just reaching out to them and trying to be useful, right? That turned out to be the best way. So outbound has been our best channel, meaning where we just get in front of our customers, and step one is just to try to understand, what are they focused on this year, right? Because there are many different companies or different items that they focus on each year. So the best way has been just outbound, and that's been working really well for us because our customers are like they're very large companies. They're not for example, small companies. They don't do self-service signups. It's just not that kind of business. So these are large companies, big footprint, and the people we talk to, right? They're like global VPs, SVPs at these large companies, and that's why it's a. I think that direct relationship with them has been very fruitful. So that's been our main mode of, call it, demand gen.
And what does outbound mean? Do you just pick up the phone and call the VP of a big corporation and just ask
That
them
that
to see
no, that's
to
one
see
of the ways.
if we can come in and do a presentation and see what you guys do and what we do?
Yeah, you actually described it very well. That's one of the ways. Like picking up the phone is has been one of the best ways. And again, I think a lot of people are really scared to just pick up the phone and call,
Yeah.
but guess what? It works. It works like a charm. And again, our goal is not to just spam them, but the goal is really, all we ask is, hey, we show up, we do our homework, and we say that, hey, we looked up a company, we read your most recent quarterly report, and we think we can be useful to you in this way, right? And if you can spare 30 minutes, we are more than happy to show a demo and talk about it, right? So it's it's we we are honest with ourselves, and also we try to be useful to our customers. So that's how I think these relationships, they, especially in a business like ours, relationships matter a lot, and our job is to kind of our primary goal is figure out, just be useful to our customers, right? And then good things will happen. So phone is one of them. We use LinkedIn quite a bit, email, but yeah, it's a good old outbound. You just try to get in front of them, and try to talk, and usually it works. If you show up, if you're buttoned up, if you do your homework, they will give you 30 minutes, right? And then it's up to you to show that what you can do, how you can add value to their business.
It's definitely working like you said.
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's
glad
it's
you
been, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys figured that out. So what about mentors? Did you have any mentors that helped you out to start your business?
Oh yeah, that's it's been one of the best parts about moving here, is that people are pretty nice about it. Meaning, even though initially, right, back when I was starting out, is even though they had no reason to respond to a stranger, they still responded, and they jump on calls, they help you out, and it's been very refreshing to see that. So in our case, obviously along the journey, you have had I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of mentors who have had big impact. And again, depends on the topic, right? Let's say
Mhm.
when you're looking for fundraising, recruiting, say getting customers, demand gen marketing, many different topics. So many different topics where you need kind of some so like a sounding board, right? And somebody who knows how to do this. And more importantly, you need to kind of get along, right? Because if the points of view, if they don't match, then there's no synergy. So the goal is over a period of time, I've been fortunate enough to come across some great people.
Where
And
did you find them?
no, just by talking, right? I go when I go to events, when I meet somebody, I get introduced by my network. So basically, always be on the lookout because great people can make great things happen, right? Irrespective of that specific day or week or specific topic. So I always kind of when I attend say when I am on a panel, when I give a talk, when I go to a dinner, or when I go to like a group event. So everywhere, basically, it's like I keep my eyes and ears open, and this it's if you just kind of surround yourself with good people, they will bring more good people into your network. That's what has happened so far. Is all the some of the really good people that I've met, I've been introduced to by my network. Right, so it just grows like that.
And are you part of any like entrepreneurship groups or meetups or organizations at all?
No, no, not formally. Yeah, at this stage it's mostly grows through my network. So, but yeah, anytime there's an event of interest, I try to attend. I try to be a part of it. Be it it could be a group or a forum or anything that I think attracts good people. Then because I think it's very refreshing to learn and get to know these people because no, they're fantastic at their craft, and it always kind of excites me to meet them and kind of
Yeah.
learn from them, right? So it's so yeah, that's how I do it. I'm not a it's like I don't do a lot of formal memberships, but yeah, this is how I do
We cannot do this all by ourselves, right?
it. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
So, Pratik, in one of the videos I was watching, it mentioned that you were on an H-1B1 visa that was expiring. How was the immigration process been for you?
Yeah, I went through the whole. I started with the student visa F1, and now obviously I'm on a green card. But yeah, I went from F1 to CPD to OPD to H1 to O1 to EB1. So I know all the abbreviations like from
Oh
start
my
to end.
goodness.
Yeah. And again, I think initially the process felt opaque, right? Because
Oh,
mostly because
yes.
I just didn't know, and
Yes.
this knowledge is not like easily available unless you are willing to pay an attorney who to
No,
sit and
you're totally
explain.
right.
So that's
Yeah.
and that's kind of the at least back then that was kind of the problem is that it's I mean, now that I know, it's not that complicated, honestly. But the fact that the information is not available makes it opaque, and that makes it kind of difficult, right? And also there is no generic formula because every person's case is unique, and depending on when you came, what visa you have this, you have that. So like there are so many customized combinations that it's kind of it gets difficult to generalize that, right? So for me, the process was initially it felt opaque, then it felt it's kind of okay, and then
Yeah,
there
that's
are
because you went through all those steps and then you're like,
right,
"Oh, okay, now I know."
yeah. So the thing is now after I went through it, it's okay, but I think it's more than anything, more than the process itself, it's the lack of access to knowledge and or people who have gone through this that makes it very difficult. I know, like back then, I didn't know any people. Like I didn't know anybody, right? So how what to do if I have a question about expiring H1B? Like, I don't know. Who do I even call, right? Because all nobody is in your exact situation, so they won't be able to guide you or help you, and that was the biggest problem. So obviously, it's been my visa journey has had its ups and downs, and yeah, it's I think that's true of almost everyone. Like I haven't met a person who said, "Oh yeah, my visa process was smooth." Like nobody ever says that. So yeah, it comes with its ups and downs, but I think hopefully as we go forward, the access to information becomes better, which means at least people will know, right? They'll be less anxious about it, and hopefully it will get more transparent in the future.
Yeah, I am hopeful too. So we can allow more unique individuals like yourself that are smart and everyone coming from other countries that bring an immense amount of value to America to open their doors and to not have the government make it so convoluted and just so difficult. But how long did it take you to get your green card?
I got my green card through EB1, and that was spectacularly fast. Now, bear in mind, getting to that, meaning figuring out that that's the path. That obviously that takes a while. But honestly, I think back when I got my green card, once my EB1 was approved, it was actually very fast, right? But the thing is, the green card of the EB1 is not the main problem. The kind of the bigger, or rather the bigger, slightly bigger issue is there are a lot more, like, there are many people on H1, and I think that's where the crux is that they can't afford to go to an attorney, and because of that, the lack of access to that information, it kind of gets people get anxious because they're trying to build a life here in America, and sometimes if you don't know about the future, if you don't know what's going to happen, it's very difficult to plan, right? So that's how I view it. And EB1 was, luckily, we were able to make a case that I was eligible for EB1, which really fast tracks the green card, which was very nice. But I know of people who where the green card has been stuck for years. It's actually, living in limbo for that many years is just very difficult. The
Yeah,
close friends go through that, and it's tough. There's no other way of saying it.
it is. It is. So how many years did it take you to get your green card?
No,
From from
after
from the student visa to your green
Oh,
card.
for the student visa, it took a while. Like call it, yeah, I need to count. At least a few years from when I came here to when I got my green card.
Yeah,
Yeah, like 8 to 9 years, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's I think so. Back when I first came to US on F1 to when I got my green card, it's about 8 to 9 years. Yeah.
Got it, got it. Okay, okay. Well, thank you so much for taking us on that journey. Okay,
Yeah.
so Prateek, how do you reinvest in yourself to keep up to date with your market or your niche? Do
Yeah,
you read books? Do you, like, listen to watch videos, listen to anything specific? Like, how do you keep reinvesting in yourself?
I read a lot. And again, I think I read about 10 times more than what I like how much I write, right? And I think reading to me, it's just very refreshing. And also, it allows, as you said, because it's such a fast moving field, I think keeping up is very important, like being to be relevant, to have a POV, point of view on what's happening, and also more than that, it's just after a while, the learning component becomes stagnant if you don't actively pursue it. Because in college, you're reading, there are courses, you're studying, you're moving fast, but once you enter your professional life, it's work, which means you have to actively pursue the learning path, or else you'll become irrelevant in a couple of years, right? So, and that's why I think I make sure that I read, and again, I read on a variety of topics. But yes, reading has been my primary way of learning and understanding and keeping up with the field.
And that's good to hear because in this day and age where everyone is on social media learning things or on YouTube or watching TV trying to learn things or just
Right.
wasting their time, it's good to hear that reading books is still so, so powerful. And it's good to hear that, hey, forget about your social media, forget about the how-tos on YouTube, and you can learn a lot of things on YouTube. I'm not discounting YouTube, but reading books and I mean, I hear on this show people just say, pick up a book and just read anything.
Yeah.
For Pete's sake, just read, because it keeps your creativity going, it keeps your development fresh, it keeps that mental aptitude still going, So it's still good to hear that people still read these days where other people are just sifting away their time in social media or other videos. So
Right, right.
yeah. Okay, so what does the American dream mean to you?
Freedom. I
Okay.
think that when I think of what does America represent, right? It's to me it's freedom, freedom to pursue a career you want, freedom to do what you want, and also and I think it has the infrastructure to allow that. Meaning, if you look at across the world and kind of figure out, hey, what if you wanna, let's say you are selling cookies today and tomorrow you want to be a Python programmer, right? The ease with which that can happen here is, honestly, I'm positively, so really, really kind of surprised that it's a legit, because what happens is when you're young, you make a choice, that's fine. And then a few years down the line, you realize, okay, I kind of don't want to do that. I really want to do this, right? And when you make that choice, across the world, it's not easy to make that switch because there is no market. Meaning you have to kind of the path is not easy. But here, I just feel like the freedom to do what you love, the freedom to pursue a path. It's honestly it's very nice to see that here, and I value that a lot.
And do you think anyone can reach their American dream?
Yes. Again, I think it's more like there's a phrase I love, like relentless consistency, right? It's
Mhm.
if you want something, right, just show up every day, right, and you will outlast all of them, right, and that's pretty much what you want. Is it is doable, but just hoping or expecting that it would be easy, it'll disappoint people and they give up too easily, right? So the goal is, again, I'm not saying it's easy or anything like that, but I think with focusing on what you can control, and then working hard, I think it's definitely doable. Yeah.
Well said. I love it. So, Prateek, you have 35 employees, is that right?
Yeah, Pluto Shift, we are 35 people. Yeah.
Okay, so you're still pretty young. How do you
Mhm.
manage 35 employees?
Yeah, it's I have some great help, right? So we have a great leadership team, and again, I think as I said, nothing like together we can, if you have the right people to kind of around you, I think you can do much greater things than alone, right? So I think that's why I think step one was we have a fantastic leadership team, and obviously our team is our entire team has actually demonstrated very strong level of commitment, and
Mhm.
they're skilled, right? They're skilled, they're great, but I think that level of commitment really helps. And I think we also kind of, it didn't happen in a day. We went through our motions, we learned, we installed processes, we learned, we adjusted them, but basically just if you look at it as an engine, there are many moving parts, and the goal is to figure out, how do we design this engine so that it runs smoothly. So yeah, over a period of time, right, we've experimented and figured out what's best to make sure 35 people work together, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
So it's doable. You're saying that, it's not simple, but it is definitely doable.
Yeah, no, definitely, it's definitely doable. And I think the goal is just make sure that when you get somebody on board, as long as you coach them, as long as you coach them, hold them accountable for the work, and more than anything, just make sure that people are equipped to
Mhm.
to be part of the team. I think as long as you make sure that happens, the process, the engine, it just works.
Prateek, what are some things you would advise the next aspiring immigrant that wants to start their own business?
Just do it. Right? That's my thank you, Nike, for coming up with that. But no, it's on a more nuanced level. I would say if somebody wants to do something, right, step one is to just get out there and start talking to people, right? Because a lot of times our internal fear of, oh my God, this visa thing is so hard, it's impossible to do it. They convince themselves that something is impossible. And it's, more often than not, like if you think it's doable or if you think it's not doable, you are more or less right. You're going to make
Right.
it through, right? So,
Right.
and so that's why I said, there are many people out there who are more than happy to help, right? They lend a helping hand, and just like me, right? When I was starting out, I just randomly I just reached out to a whole bunch of people, and somebody helped, right? So it works, but it won't happen if you're sitting inside your room and not doing anything. So the goal is, step one, get out there, start reaching out to people. There are many people who are willing to help, and you just need one person to kind of help, and then you are in a good position to drive forward.
I love ending this show with just do it. It's so simple, so amazing. And I love all the wisdom that you brought us today. I truly appreciate your time. And hey, you've just shown to all the immigrants listening that it's doable. It might not be that simple, but reaching out, asking questions, and we will get help along the way. So, Prateek, thank you so much for joining me on the show, and I am truly honored to share your story.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alina. Really, it was really a great discussion, and I hope the listeners enjoyed it. Thank you.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If there are any links that were mentioned in this episode, make sure to check them out on my website under this episode to find all the links conveniently located in the show notes. I just wanted to ask for a quick favor if you could please leave a review wherever you're at listening to this podcast. Also, if you're an immigrant entrepreneur and would love to be on my podcast, please email me and we'll get connected. I'll see you guys all next time for another exciting and impactful episode. Take care.